All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. All right, we're still a couple of minutes early for the live stream, but I thought, last time when I did the live stream, I messed up. I don't know if y'all were there, but uh, I was struggling with my microphone. So this time we fixed it. Uh, let's see. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna get my water. All right. Hello, Vani. Good to see you. Good evening. Good evening. How are you doing? There's a few people joining in. Well, we're already early, but you know what? We can start talking. I It's early morning here in Florida, and I actually have a fantastic view of uh, it's called a intercoastal, and I'm in a hotel. You'll see a bunch of buildings, some water in the middle. Florida is a special place, but I'm here to meet some schools, meet some students, and meanwhile, I thought, why not get on an AMA session and answer some questions because I'm sure a lot of you are curious. Hi, Vani. I'm from India originally. Obviously, you can see, but I was born and raised in Pune, um, and I lived there till I was about 22. Then decided to go all around India, work from a lot of different places. Decided to come to the US to do my MBA. Applied to a lot of schools, colleges, got through about six of them, picked one with a full scholarship, 1 year, did my MBA, and then the rest is history. Started a company, and since then, I've been pretty excited about what we're doing and helping students. So the goal here is to really no agenda of. I will of course talk about my life and the things I do, and y'all will learn a lot from that. I have a pretty active life, and so I'll talk about my experiences, share the things I do, but also goal is to answer some of your questions and help you in your journeys as well. So yeah, feel free to use the chat and tell me what you all are thinking. It doesn't have to be about just what you're studying or want to study, anything random. I think this is just a place for us to share, and help each other. My goal is and passion in life is to help students not just get outside of their comfort zone, outside of their countries, but also to experience places like America and Canada and Europe and Australia. And I've traveled to all of them. I have met with a lot of universities there. We have a lot of students going to all these countries. So I'm very passionate about it. So I want to talk about everything study abroad. I want to talk to you about my journey. This is actually the first AMA session that I'm doing after 2 years. I used to do it quite a bit. I enjoyed it. I mean, there were so many students. I made so many friends online. You guys, I mean, it's the journey has been just fantastic for me. I love it, and I missed it. So I was telling my team that we should start doing some AMA sessions again, because it's what drives me. So yeah, tell me about you guys. I see some people joining. Tell me where you guys are from. What brings you here? Just generally, what are you thinking about life on a Tuesday evening if you're in India, or elsewhere? Um, would love to know. Would love to understand. And also, if you need any guidance on studying abroad, on if you're looking at any colleges, any universities, I am happy to talk to you about it. Right, that's the goal for this call. um, All right. So while you all are thinking about what to post and what to talk about, I'll tell you my journey. I came to the US, and in this was in 2013 when I decided that I'm sort of bored with my life in India. Uh, I was working really hard, waking up at 7 a.m., going to office, coming back home by, if I was lucky, 10 p.m. And it wasn't that, it was my work that was stressing me out, but I just liked working a lot. But then at some point, I was like, am I making enough money for all this hard work that I'm doing? And I felt like the answer was no. I was working with a lot of like American people, American customers, and then at some point I said, what if I just go and study in America? Is it even possible for a 25-year-old guy in India who's like doesn't have a lot of money? I didn't have a lot of money. I mean, my parents were decent enough in making enough money to support my education in India, but I mean, 50, 60 thousand dollars, I don't know. But then, so I wanted to look for a place where that'll give me a good scholarship, which I then found. I found Bentley, but the application journey was pretty hard. I mean, I'll talk to you about it. I see someone saying something. Okay, Webov want to come to the US, study computer science, and work at Tesla. That's pretty. That's a pretty cool ambition. I would love to know what you're doing, but um, computer science and Tesla, of course, go hand in hand. Competition is fierce, but I'll talk to you about it. So back in the day when Tesla was actually located in California, we had a lot of students from California schools that were recruited at Tesla. And this was everything from your UC Berkeley's and Stanfords of the world to the CSUs, and like the California State University system. There's a lot of schools in California. If you guys don't know, I mean, it's ridiculous how many schools. It's almost like some parts of India where there's a school every corner. Well, it's not that much. I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of schools in California that actually provide a computer science degree, and Tesla used to. What was interesting about Tesla's hiring, Vaibhav, is that they did not really care about what school you went to. So we in fact had students from high school who applied to Tesla, got a job. Why I'm telling you all this? Recently, what has happened is Tesla's actually moved to uh, Texas. They've moved most of their operations to Texas, and what's happening is, interestingly, schools in Texas are now getting a lot of traction from companies like Tesla. So especially the UT system, the University of Texas, the TAMU system, it's called the Texas A&M University, um, are some really interesting schools where Tesla is starting to hire from. And the interesting part is that these schools are much easier to get through than your UC Berkeley or UCLA or Stanford. The TAMUs and the UTs of the world are actually decently filled with Indians. There's a lot of Indians there. I've been there multiple times. I go to Texas a lot. I love it. I love the barbecue in Texas. I mean, they make the best barbecue, guys, hands down. So I go there. American food in general is like, honestly, it's really bad. I don't like it. Being Indian, when I come here, I just miss Indian food. But then, yeah, when I go to Texas, I really enjoy the barbecue. So I meet a lot of students. I meet the admissions team at University of Texas. We work with them. So I'm happy to answer questions around what it takes for all these schools. But yeah, computer science. And Tesla, very much hand in hand. Even though they're a car company, Tesla is actually known for its electronic science, computer science and electronics capabilities. So yeah, happy to answer questions if you're looking for any specific things around schools. Numero uno is here. Number one, I am Tanpreet Singh doing BBA last semester. Fantastic, Tanpreet. I wonder where you're doing that from. You're saying suggest which course and country is good for PG. Yeah. So where are you right now, Tanpreet? I'm assuming you're in India doing your BBA. Talk to me a little bit. Tell me, okay, Amritsar, very good. Um, and I mean, this is public space, so you don't have to really give us your scores, but rate your like. Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how would uh, your grades and overall academics be? Would you rate it at like a 7 on 10, a 4 on 10? How would that be? Um, Tell me a little bit. Um, and I'm guessing, okay, and you're saying that you want to look for a PG, so that'll be an MBA program, about a 7. Okay, fantastic. If you're at about a 7, that's good. I don't know if you've taken any tests. Have you taken, since you might be looking for an MBA, your best bet is a GMAT, but they even take GRE scores. I don't know if you've given any of those, but that would be the only other thing I would ask you. Um, because, guys, when it comes to MBA, I mean, yeah, in India, especially our parents and friends and relatives, everybody's talking about Harvard and MIT and Yale and all of these big schools. But guys, honestly, I'm a guy who got an admit to Yale. I got into the Yale MBA program, and I also got into a bunch of other schools, and I did not pick Yale. And in India, that's a big deal. I mean, my parents and all the people around me hated that idea, but I did not pick Yale. But the cool thing is, today, after picking Bentley and doing what I'm doing, I actually hire students from Yale to work for our company, right? So sometimes it's actually a question of what you want as your end goal. I mean, Yale and all these are just a means to that. So coming to your question again, so you're at about a 7ish. You haven't told me about your scores, but let's assume if you've not given your test, let's assume you get also a 7 on 10 kind of a score on your exams. I would not think too hard about, like, say, the top 20, top 30 schools globally. Uh, in India, we have this habit of kind of saying, "Oh, agar bahar ja raha hu padhne to top 20 mein padhunga ya padhungi." But guys, sometimes you have to also think about it. So if you're like, let's say, for others also on this call, if say you're like a 7 on 10 type of student, then you're gonna face a lot of competition when you apply to the big schools. I also faced a lot of competition, and even with I'll tell you my story, Tanpreet. It'll help you. Because I did my MBA, right? Um, uh, I had a 720 GMAT, which is in the top 5 percentile. I had 118 out of 120 on my TOEFL, which is a fantastic score for English language proficiency. I had a gold medal in my master's degree, and I had 5 years of work experience. Even with all of that, I could hardly manage to get a scholarship at Yale. Um, I had to push them. Hey, Ajaz, nice to meet you, dude. Um, I had to push the Yale guys a lot. I'll tell you, this is just this beginning. In the next few AMAs, I will also tell you some tricks and tactics of how to push admissions offices at universities, because guys, that really works. Okay. Like, yeah, so I pushed the Yale admissions team. Still, I couldn't get a lot of score, even with all of the, like, I would rate myself, let's say, a 8.5, 9 on 10 as a student with my grades and everything. I couldn't. I got some scholarship there, but I had to spend like $60,000. But the thing I realized is, I rather be. This is how I thought about my life. I rather be the top cream student at a slightly lower ranked school than be at the bottom of the Yale class. Like, if I went to Yale, even with all my grades and scores and everything, I would actually end up paying them more money, and I would be, if I'm lucky, maybe in the bottom 25% of the class. The Yale gets a lot of, like, you get students with like crazy portfolios and resumes. But I went to Bentley to do my MBA, Tanpreet, just for you to kind of understand, to your question. I went to this Bentley is ranked 38th, I think, in the US right now, but they're ranked number one for undergrad job placements all across America. People don't even know about these schools in India. And I went there. I got 100% scholarship. 100%. They paid for everything. They not just paid for everything, they also gave me an iPad, because I said, I'll work with your marketing team, I'll tell stories. And they gave me an iPad. They paid for my trips to Paris. They paid for my trips to Ghana. They paid for my trip to Toronto, I think. Yeah, Toronto in the US. There was a local trip. They paid for all of this. And the MBA was 1 year. So just imagine. And I was in the cream of the class. I was in like the top 5% of students, because my grades and everything were good. So my experience there told me that was a gamble, and it really worked. It really worked, because at Bentley I got so much attention. People, like, considered me an elite student. They gave me the full scholarships. They took care of me. Professors were great with me. I loved it, and I tell this to all my friends, you guys, who are thinking of studying abroad. Is sometimes it's not about like spending a ton of money and trying to get to the best school possible. Sometimes you have to just be a little smarter with your money, with your time, and with everything. So yeah, hopefully that answers some of your questions. Let's see. Okay, Vivek scored 290 in GRE, which is a low score. Okay, no problem. Should I now give the GRE once again or apply to universities? Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, Webub's actually replied to that. I see. I think you can score better. Yeah, the thing about the GRE is, your best score is considered. And so, if I were you, if I had, I know it costs money to take the test, but man, it's one time that you go abroad and you study, and it's a one shot at everything. So um, you have two options here. So nowadays there are some schools. I know that our counselors in our team, they suggest a lot of schools that even have a GRE waiver, because after COVID, I think a lot of schools are more open to it. What I'm seeing though is, even though they say GRE optional, they would rather consider somebody who's given a GRE. This is what is happening in the market. Like, when I talk to our friends at admissions offices in schools, I hear a lot that, yeah, they will still say, okay, oh, somebody came with no GRE, somebody came with a 320. Oh, okay, great. Let's look at the 320 guy. It's human bias. So even if they say that it's a GRE waiver, they do consider it. So if that's the case, Vivek, I would strongly recommend. I don't know, Vivek, if you have taken any coaching for GRE, but a lot of the test, guys, like when I gave my first GMAT, this is a time for me to reveal a lot of, even the things that I went through. The first time I gave the GRE, I actually only got a 610. 610 is sorry, the GMAT. I gave the GMAT. I got a 610. And that's actually Not a great score. I mean, it's average. For an Indian student, it's not. And then I took, where did I go? Was this place in Chennai? Time, I think. Time, something with time in it. Time, yeah. I went to take some GMAT coaching. Literally 3 months of coaching. They teach you all these like fancy shortcuts and everything. Even at iSchool Connect, we're launching our GRE GMAT programs, but I think we'll get to full-fledged training in a few months. But I know that there are a lot of coaching places that will do that. So Vivek, if you're not taking that, I would just take a crash course. It's one time, and it really helps. So why not? The thing is, if you get a low score, it doesn't matter. At least you took a shot at it. um, but yeah, Karthik. uh Karthik is, okay, I'm just scrolling through all of this. What is US MBA in 2023 like in terms of post MBA opportunities? Karthik, I always tell people that the US is always a land of opportunities. I mean, I see I was talking to one entrepreneur. I actually advise a lot of entrepreneurs and founders who are starting companies, especially Indian young founders. I enjoy, that's my passion. And I was this person asked me like, hey, is there a prospect after my MBA to start a company in the US? And I said to him, this is the thing about the US. You could decide to start a coffee shop today. There's like thousands of coffee shops in the US. There's a Starbucks every like 2 minutes. But if you decide to start a coffee shop, you can still be very successful, because that's how the US market is. They are always looking for what's the next best thing. So like Blue Bottle Coffee started here recently, and oh, they're now a rage. I know small coffee shops. So post MBA, the only thing I advise students is, if you're thinking about job prospects and you're worried, oh my God, I'm taking a loan and will I be able to come back? This applies to any program actually. Is You have to know one thing, that outside of India, jobs don't come to you like they do in India. Okay, and what I mean by that, so like in India, we would expect our college or university to bring in companies, right? So we'll be like, okay, yeah, we're going to study end of like beginning of the last year, or like last semester or whatever. We would expect companies to come to campus, interview us, and pick us from campus. It happens, career fairs happen in other countries, like in the US, for instance. Here, even in my school, career fair happened. But you don't get jobs. Companies come there to meet and greet students, but in the end, all of the recruitment happens centrally. So I'll give you my tips here. There are a few people who are asking about like jobs and prospects and everything, right? I will combine my answer here, and I'll do a separate AMA on just jobs. But I'll tell you my secret of how I got three offers when I got out of my MBA. And it's hard to get even one offer when you're out of your MBA, but I got three, and I'll tell you why. It's not like I'm genius in terms of my skill set or anything. No, just a normal guy. But here's what I did from day one when I went to school, and this trick will work anywhere in the world. From day one when I started doing my MBA, I started going to networking events. And what's a networking event? So especially in the US, everywhere you'll have like meet and greets, mixers. Uh, like there was one in Boston. I studied in Boston, so the one I really liked was called Network After Work. Right. What's cool about this is network after work is actually only for people who usually the people who show up are usually network after work, which means they finish their work and they show up at these events. Okay, and they're just drinking, they're having a fun time, they like to meet, sometimes they want to meet singles, fall in love, whatever, it doesn't matter. Sometimes they're looking for the next job for themselves. But Boston has a lot of these like network after work mixers. And guess who showed up there? Me. uh, and the funny thing is, like, students think about, oh yeah, I want to meet employers, blah blah blah, but at these events there was not a single student. Everybody was a working professional. I mean, my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, she was also there with me. I'd convinced her to go with me. But what we realized is that no students go there. So when we go there, people actually give us attention. They want to like advice. People love to give advice, right? We also love to give advice. I'm giving advice to you right now. People love to give advice. So like we would go here and talk to people. By the end of like 7 8 months, like we figured out that we now know everybody. And then that was the time when we would change our pitch and talk more about, oh yeah, we're graduating, we don't know what to do. And just like that, we started getting job offers. People would be like, hey, I think I have an opening in my team. I should apply for you. I should bring you in, Ashish. That's how I got my job. I got all of my jobs having beer with somebody. Or juice. Like if you're not an alcohol drinker, pardon me. I don't drink, by the way. I don't like alcohol. But one of the things like I would do is, and I still do it sometimes, because like if there's customers or there's people who might give you a job or something, the only way to jive with them is kind of be in their atmosphere, do the things they want to do. um, so yeah, so there's a lot of prospects. It's all about how you what you make of it. Prince, can I pay? Prince is like Prince Pal, desperate attempt to to grab attention. I see your multiple postings. But I will answer that question. You don't have to. I'll look at it, even if it's put once. Guys, don't worry. Okay, I will put it, and I'm going to be doing AMS sessions every few days. I mean, today I'm like sitting in a hotel room. Sometimes I'll be just walking around universities. I'll be just talking about life in general. So yeah, so this is not the end of it. Don't worry. Can I pay bachelor fees from part-time job in Australia? Yeah, I mean, if you can land a part-time job, you can use that. It's money. Sometimes it depends on the kind of part-time job. If you get a graduate assistantship or a teaching assistantship as your part-time job, it automatically counts towards credits. You don't even have to do a transaction. But if you get a job yourself and you need to send the money through your account, why not? I mean, in the US. And I'm really very familiar with the US because I live here, and I do a lot of things here. I help students coming, especially to the US. We've got people who help for Australia, but it also depends on like CPT and OPT. So if you have, for instance, day one CPT, that's a permission from your school for you to work anywhere you want. OPT usually only clicks in after your degree is complete, but CPT you can work while you are studying, and then that way there is no problem. Now I know that there are students who will like, uh, the school does not give them a CPT and they still somehow want to work. So they'll find some job somewhere that will pay them cash. Now, I obviously, especially here, I cannot talk about it. It's something, it's a gray area. But I know that there are people who will resort to that kind of work. It's not fully recommended, obviously, because it's a red flag. Um, you cannot you cannot be paid. You cannot be on payroll. You cannot be paid. Same with Australia as well, if your school does not permit you to work. And there are different forms of permissions. Like in the US, of course, it's called a CPT, curricular practical training. Like if you have a CPT approval, then you can. It's almost considered like you're doing an internship while you're studying, but then you get paid for it. So all of that. But yeah. Uh, Nikhil Chaudhary, hello, nice to see you. Um, all right. Is it better to be in the top 25 of a big or a top one of a moderate? I don't know, Nikhil, if you joined late. I was just talking about this. I would totally prefer to be a top 1% in a moderate university. That's what I was. I just I enjoy that. I enjoy the limelight. I enjoyed what I could gain. Usually I was the strongest voice in the classroom. Like if you're doing business, guys, you should know that when you're doing business degree, even in India, it's going to be a very interactive learning, and how much you contribute to the class is going to also count towards your scores and things like that. So it's really important to be able to do that, right? So if you're in like a big university in like maybe the 25, 30, 50%, you are in a way going to benefit because people will there will be a lot of others who will like to debate with you and all of that. But yeah, I mean, personally, I like that. I like doing what I did. Um, yeah, there are a few more questions. I want to limit these sessions to about 30 minutes, and we are at time. And I'm going to do I'm going to do these sessions every couple of days or so. But I'll spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes here. I'll answer all the questions that are here, and then we'll again meet. So today's Tuesday. I think we'll meet again on Thursday. You guys will get a notification. But please, thank you for showing up here. Tell your friends that these sessions are going to happen continuously. Send them my link, um, and I'll keep answering questions. Okay. Neo Gamer, would you recommend doing BBA in France? It depends where you want to get to. If you want to respond on the chat, please do. But in France, first of all, if you're doing an MBA and you want to work in France, you want to do something in business, it's imperative that you learn French. You have to learn French. You have to know how to converse well in French, because most business in France happens in French. So that's the rule. Now, if you go there, it's also a slower process, and sometimes impossible to get to like a permanent residence status. So you have to be very careful of those things. The good thing is once you enter France, you have access to all the Schengen nations, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that. If not, search for the term Schengen, Schengen, and Schengen actually will allow you to travel to some other places, to Italy, or other countries, to study. UK is not part of it anymore thanks to Brexit. Uh, but yeah. Okay. Bhavika, can you tell me more about pushing university for scholar? Yes, Bhavika, I'm going to do a separate session on that. It will take much longer than 5 minutes. I would like to spend some time on it because it's one of the most important questions, and I would say one of the most interesting things that I've discovered. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I would definitely spend. We're going to do a lot more of these sessions, so do not worry. I will be talking about it, and tell you my secrets and my story as well about how I was able to convince admissions teams. It's possible, guys. It's possible to convince them to reduce the amount of money they charge you, a lot of other things, and yeah, absolutely. Um, CPT, OPT, Shambhavi. Yeah. So CPT, we will do a session on that as well. But at a high level, CPT stands for curricular practical training. OPT stands for optional practical training. Um, in summary, these are actually big topics. We'll talk about it. But in summary, CPT applies while you are studying, OPT applies after you finish studying. And these two, you have to really, especially if you're going to the US to study, you have to know what these mean. in depth, because they give you the biggest bang for the buck. CPT allows you to work while you are studying. OPT allows you to work in America after you finish studying without having a work visa. Very, very important and strong information to have. OPT allows you, and if you have, let's say you do an MS in computer science, OPT allows you to stay in America for 3 years, 3 years without having a work visa. And you can work full time, make all the money you want to make or can make without thinking, oh my God, will I get a work visa? Like even these companies don't have to sponsor your visa. Okay. And I'll talk about all of that. A lot of students make the mistake when companies ask them, hey, do you want this job? And they say yes. The company asks, but do you need a visa? And the students say yes. You don't have to. Yes, you need it, but only 3 years later. So I will also talk to you guys about how to approach companies. How to approach companies while you are studying, how to get all of that done. So there's a lot. I'm actually very excited to do these sessions and see where it goes. So we'll talk about all of that. But yes, I see more questions coming. We are at time, so I want to keep these sessions to 30 minutes, guys. But depending on how we grow, I'm sure this community will keep growing. And I could spend more time, or maybe put an hour or so into these. But yeah, I'm in Florida, not for fun, not to enjoy the sun and the beach, but I'm here to meet some universities. I'm actually going to them. I'll be doing some videos there and meeting some admissions officers. This is what I do. I learn a lot from universities, and then I come back and I tell our students on what's the next best thing. I see Dreamer. I see, yeah, some points from you. You got your offer letter from ACM. Fantastic. Congratulations. Vocal music. Wow. That's a very non conventional one. Fantastic. Good for you. I don't see uh, a lot of students, a lot of people in India going for non-traditional learning pathways. But when I see someone like you, it actually delights me a lot. It's good. You're going after what your heart desires, so that's good. This is good, guys. I think we will drop off at this point. Thank you so much for joining. Please keep subscribing to my channel. Watch my videos. I keep posting nowadays. I do, I think, almost one a week, and trying to give as much information as possible. We're going to do more of this. I'm going to be talking about study abroad, living abroad, getting a job, and how to actually be successful while you're on your education journey. So, good luck till then. Have a good rest of your evening, and thank you so much. Please let me know in the comments on how whether this was helpful, what topics you would like for me to talk about, and I'll make sure in the next few AMAs I will include some of that. Okay. Thank you so much, and take care, everybody.